Deathscyp here from YCG, your casual gamer. So today we'll be talking about lighting. I'm only going to scrape the surface on that subject as this subject is huge and I keep learning more about it every day. But we'll talk about the spotlights, the point lights, and a little bit about their mobility. Also, I'm going to add a post-process volume to the scene as I want to show you that these two elements are very crucial to add realistic features to a scene. And this is what it should look like at the end. So let's get started. Alright, so we have our scene over here that we left off with our props. So today we're going to add the light to the scene, as right now we don't see anything. So let's go right away into lit mode, and I'm going to make you drag a few things inside the level, and then I'm going to talk about each of them. So first off, you're going to drag the point light over here, and you're going to bring it to the center. Now move to the other room, and we're going to check for the spotlight, and we're going to drag that one inside the room too. Alright, now they both have a similar feature. As you see, the point light over here is an overall light that originates from the center of its original place, and that just spams around itself. Okay, and if you move a little bit out, you're going to see that round shape around it. It's his attenuation radius. That's how far the light will travel. So now that you see that, most of the time you're gonna put it inside a room. You're not gonna need the attenuation to be that far. Okay, and I'm gonna tell you why later. All right, in this video. So right now I'm just gonna put it to 500. Okay, and I'm gonna drop the intensity to 2500. So now I know what you mean. It's still pretty bright when you look inside the room. And that's where the post-process volume just really kicks in. Okay, to make my scene look a little bit more realistic, I'm going to use the post-process volume, as I like to have the real measures when I put my light. I don't like the auto eye adaptation feature that the Unreal Engine gives us. It's not a bad feature, it's just that for this tutorial I don't find it useful, because the light is always going to play around, and sometimes it takes a long time for the eyes to adapt. And you're going to understand what I mean by that. Okay, the camera has an eye feature. Okay, so right away, go back to unlit mode. I'm going to go over on the left tab, and I'm going to click post process volume. Okay, and drag this inside the level. So it's like it works like a BSP brush. We're just going to set its state right away to 1500 on each level. What that does is going to cover the whole area. So other than the BSP brush, the post process is something that you have to be inside for the effect to take place. Okay, so it doesn't interact with the player other than it changes the look of the scene. I couldn't put it in a better way. Okay, so you see over here all the settings that works with. But I'm not going to go through each setting. If you want to, just check my link in the description and go check Virtuous Education. They have a really well explained step-by-step definition of each setting of the post-processing volume. But I'm going to go with the auto exposure. So now if I want to get this, because you see right away the minimum brightness is defaultly put to 0.03 and the maximum brightness to 2. So that means that if I'm inside a room that's too bright, it's going to show that, it's going to make that feeling of your eyes that when you get inside a room and it's too bright. And I don't want that feeling right now. I want the feeling to be neutral, like my eyes are already adapted to the room. All right, so I'm going to set that to 1. And the same thing applies to minimum brightness. That means if the light is too dark inside a room, it's going to adjust the light so that when you get used to the room, you're actually going to see clearer inside. And I don't want that either, so I'm going to put it back to 1. And when you put both of those measures to 1, it cancels out the eye adaptation, which is what I'm trying to recreate right now here, so that I can freely play with the light and I can get the fully result of what I want in my scene. All right, so that's all I need to do with the post-process volume. If you want to learn more about it, check Virtuous Education. And now we're going to go back to lit mode. There's a lot of nice features that comes with the post-process volume. All right, so now you see it already looks pretty much more realistic when I look inside. my level. Okay, so I'm going to use the point light over here for something, but I'm going to show you that in a second. We're going to go grab that spotlight right away. Okay, since we're using a wall lamp, I'm going to bring this, like the difference between a spotlight and the point light, the main difference is just where the light originates from and where does it travel. The point light acts like a sun in the middle and the light goes around. The spotlight, on the other hand, only works in a cone shape area. Perfect for my wall lamp. I'm going to bring it towards the wall. I'm going to rotate to 180 and just drop it a little bit more. So now you see right away over here, it pretty much does the job for itself. I might have to adjust a few things, like you have with the cone, you have the inner and the outer. The inner is how much the light from the center is gonna originate, how much it's gonna beam out. The outer is the how it's gonna gradually become less bright as the inner cone light goes through. What I mean is that if you see right now it's at 0, if I put it out, you're going to see a blue shape that's going to appear in the light, and you're going to see the light spreads out and it disappears gradually into the outer edge of the cone. That's the kind of effect I really want to get with this light over here. Now if I move this, or I just click on effect world, what does is that it makes the light stop working just for now, but you can still reactivate it after. That means if I wanted to play with the light over here, I wanted to make it look more realistic, I'm happy with what I get over here. Okay, now I'm gonna go back to the point light, and I'm gonna need the point light because the spotlight, as you see, doesn't bring the light through the mesh. If you know any way to add a light that goes through a mesh, but only a certain mesh and doesn't go through the actual walls or what I don't want it to go through, I'd be more than open that I would love to learn that feature. But right now, the way I use it is I put two light, one for the visual and the other one for the actual light, what I want it to do. Okay, so this one I'm going to put the effect world back on. So now let's work on how this light should affect this room. Now I know what you mean, what you're gonna say. Why is there a glow in the wall of this light over here? That doesn't look realistic. This light shouldn't put any glow. Shouldn't have a glow since its only projection is upward. And I agree with you. So we're going to take this off. It's pretty simple. You're going to drag down over here and you're going to grab the minimum roughness over here and you're going to bring it to 0.8, I think. And you're going to see right away it becomes less frequent to see the glow. Now it looks a lot more realistic. Maybe not the best effect, but I mean, you can pretty much know what you want to play around with. If you want to use that method to just give basic lighting to a room. So you could put it to 1. Anything else? I'm not going to talk about. Oh yes, the mobility. You have 3 mobilities for the lights. Okay, you have static, stationary, and movable. I'm going to go real quick through it. The stationary, the static means that the light is static. It doesn't move. So the shadows are not going to be dynamic and the light won't be dynamic. So you can't move the light at all. And whatever in a room that requires dynamic shadows, let's say I'd be moving a chair or my character would need a dynamic shadow, this light would not be updating them. So my shadow would always be facing in one direction and that would be it. And even if I move, my shadow would still be in that direction, which is pretty dull. So that kind of setting, you're going to use it only when you have static lighting in a room and you have a chair or a desk and something that requires a static shadow. Stationary and movable brings dynamic shadow to the scene. So you're going to be able to move around and have your shadow always being updated. And that's a pretty cool feature. But the thing with the stationary And the difference between stationary and movable is that the movable is if you need the light to move. Let's say it'd be a light behind you or a flashlight that's following you. You would need the light to move with you, because the stationary light might update the shadow dynamically, but it doesn't move the light dynamically. So if, let's say it'd be a stationary lamp, but you want the lamp to be, you can knock the lamp down, it would update your shadow still, but it wouldn't update the light's location. The location would not move. The lamp would move, but the location would still be there where the original lamp was at. So that wouldn't be the kind of light you want to use for that. All right, so movable when you want to have a cinematic or something that's going to move the light. That's it. So using that method, I'm going to go around and populate the level. Enjoy the artist feed. As you see over here. Now you're going to realize that when I'm going through the level, I probably don't need this over here. I'm going to take it out. Oh no, I know why I needed it. Control Z. I know why I needed it. It's for this over here, to make the light look litten. Alright, like this. Now this, maybe a little bit more. That's cool. Okay. So, one thing I wanted to tell you also is over here, that's a very good example of a stationary light. They can interact with each. They can there can be a conflict between the two lights, and that's the kind of conflict you don't want to get, because it's gonna. That means that your shadows, the engine is warning you that the shadows are gonna update everything so quickly that they're gonna interfere with others. That's when you use another method that we're not going to use in this video to make sure that the lights, they don't collide together. Well, the best way, if you want all the other rooms to be lit in, or you have a big room and you have so many lights around them, is you're going to have to value which one you want to have static and which one do you want them to be stationary, because you can only have 4 colliding stationary lights. Okay, so right now this one probably collides with a bunch of others. I'm going to go back in unlit just to make sure, and I'm going to click on others. See here, colliding once, colliding twice, so you can already know colliding fourth. So right away you already have those 4 lights that are colliding together. Okay, so that's going to be a problem over here. Okay, so the easy way to correct it would be that if I click back on this one, go back to lit, would be to either put it to static or movable. This is going to eliminate the problem right away, but not quite, because the performance is still lacking afterward, because your light is still overlapping, which this is going to affect your performance. So the best way to really fix the problem is to make sure that these attenuation don't collide. So let's say over here was 500. Maybe I need 250. 250 might be enough. Might not be enough. So we'll leave it to 350. Okay, we'll leave it to 500. If you know that all your shadows are already been taken care of, you can put this one to static right away, because I already know my character is not going to have a physical body, so I don't need dynamic shadows right now, and this room doesn't require dynamic shadows, so that's a good example of not using dynamic shadows. You can put them all static, and there you go, you won't have any more problem. Maybe one of them is still stationary somewhere. No, I think the rest is the spotlights, because you see the radius is pretty big. I don't think I played with them before. I left it at 1000. You can easily drop it to 250, probably less to 125. There we go. It still does the same effect, and maybe click on all of them and put them to 125. Now the only one I'm going to have to fix is this one over here, because this one needs to be at least 1000. Is it 1000? Or it's really less? Like this. There we go. And you're going to see right away, now that I fixed this, I can already go inside my level and there's less of a performance issue. Now if I click play, it's going to say this on the top. I'm sorry, I can't show you. It's going to say lighting needs to be rebuilt. I'm going to play again. It's going to say on the top left screen, it's going to say lighting needs to be rebuilt. 94 unbuilt object. Okay, so that's the last step you need to do with the light. You need to build the light before going back in your before seeing all the great, because now it's just a preview lighting that you have in your scene. So I'm going to pause the video and build the lighting. Now when you go for lighting building, you have all these qualities. You have the production, high, medium, preview. When you're working on your preview project, when you're just working inside your project, always stay on preview or medium. Only go on production if you really want to see what it looks like when you've done everything for your level. Okay, because if you only do if you go on production, it's going to take a lot more time to build your lighting. Your lighting is going to take a lot more time to build it than if you go on preview. Preview is going to be instant. It might not be the perfect lighting, but you're going to have a pretty good idea of where you're going with your lighting. I keep saying lightning, man. It's like I want a lightning bolt on my head. Sorry about that, guys. So let's go on preview and again, build lighting only. I'm going to pause the video and come back when the lighting is done. All right, so this is what my scene looks like at the moment. Okay, so you get the general idea over here. It's not really what I wanted yet, but just by tweaking everything that you have in your scene right now, you're going to be able to achieve the result I showed you in the preview. Okay, just by trying static, trying movable, making your attenuation radius go further. Maybe your light needs to be more intense. Just play around with all these settings and you're going to be able to get a pretty good result on your scene. Okay, so I made this video really too big, so let's end over here. Sorry about that, but I really wanted to attack this issue once really hard before we get into Blueprint, because lighting is very important in Unreal and in any game. If your lighting suck, your game is going to suck. Now I know it's not a perfect product we have over here, but you have a general idea of what to do with lighting, and I hope that helped a lot of people. So next video we're jumping inside Blueprint. Have a good week and see you next time.